1 minute.
Is this an ex-girlfriend or ex-wife?
Oh, very recent ex-girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
On and off for the last,
Very
unfortunately, 2 summers. Summer
Mm.
loving, had me a blast,
Well,
but it was
that's
over, and it sucks in wintertime.
And just tell me when to hit play. Still haven't sorted out the streaming
okay. I
shit
think
here,
we're
Arjun.
ready. Do it. Do it.
Good evening and welcome to the After Hours Show. My name is Joe in Norway. I'll be your cook this evening, and I'm joined by Ann Lee, a retired college professor and a community member of the Daily Coast. They're a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. And in addition, we've got a special guest this evening, Arjun from Deep Into History Pod. Evening, Arjun.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure to be
Evening.
here, back
Yeah.
with my old school pandemic fam. Miss all of you. I just
That
I just thought I'd join in a bit because of everything that's happened after when our dear friend Professor Ann Lee is ranting. I thought I'd join in a bit and give you guys a little bit of historical context because there's a lot of doomerism and things like saying like this is unprecedented as an awful
mm,
start to a year
mm.
across everywhere, and it's just not true. So
I've been sequestered out in the middle of Western Norway, up in the hinterlands. Has something been happening? Sounds a bit uneventful this year so far. That could just be me though.
I don't know. Have you seen President Maduro? Did he make a
Oh,
deal and end up in
oh,
Norway?
oh goodness.
I think Netflix has a show about a mafia boss
Uh,
disappearing to
oh,
Norway.
oh man. Oh, Machado, man, she really messed up by not accepting the Nobel Prize. But what I've sent the message to the Nobel Committee to consider consulting with the CIA prior to their Nobel considerations, just to be sure that they've got some, particular chance. Um, it's funny you came back today, although this is the third season, 33rd episode of this show, the After Hours show. This is the 300th Zoom meeting that we've had from the original office hours and the David Feldman show at the beginning of the pandemic. So this is our
Whoa.
300th office hours slash after hours.
That's amazing and kind of serendipitous because
Mm,
last night or yesterday I was feeling under the weather, so I just let like my YouTube,
mm,
I turned on
mm,
autoplay and just let it play background
mm.
stuff. And you know what came on? David's appearances on the Majority Report.
Oh,
So it was just like it
Oh.
reminded me so much of like our
uh,
crew during
oh,
the
nice.
Feldman show after hours.
Well, times change,
This
fascism creeps, and winter has besetted me. I'm freezing my ass off. I'm surrounded in whiteouts all the time, blizzards, and there's white nationalism on the radio, on the internet. And there's white this and white that. It's driving me crazy. And I thought I've been holding off on this recipe for a while. This is white. What I'll be making is white non-nationalistic kimchi. So white kimchi or buck kimchi. It makes use of no gochujang, the traditional Korean chili that's used in the red kimchi that you find. So this one is more of a sweet toned and maybe a little more bland, but while it might be more bland and less spicy than the traditional red kimchi, it makes up in difference with the little infusion of colors. So what we do here is we salt the kimchi, which the magic of preparation. I've got the head here that we've salted in a brine, and I'll shred all of the vegetables, and then we kind of leave matchstick vegetables into the interleaving with the cabbage there. So I've got a lot of matchstick making to do. John, you might be very excited. Got a fresh import from Venezuela. Not Venezuela. This is not marching powder. This
Wait,
is.
are you got white powder from Venezuela this week?
Oh,
Very suspicious.
wait, this Nobel Committee. I've got connections.
What?
This is the rice flour, which John will be making your favorite, a rice slurry from the dashi. We've got kelp here that have the seaweed for the umami flavor. We're gonna cook a little bit of the rice, or cook the rice flour in the dashi to make a rice slurry, which helps kickstart our fermentation for the kimchi.
Well, you know how I like slurry, Joe.
You love slurry.
Joe,
In addition-
your mise en place is beautiful. Could you
Oh.
describe the vegetables that you have out there for us?
So we've got napa or chinacol, as they call it here, Chinese cabbage. We have a Turkish green pepper, another sweet red pepper. We have some pears, the daikon, white daikon, carrot, onion, ginger, and we have some Degla Nord dates, which I'll be using in place of jujube, which is, I guess you could call it a Chinese date, maybe. So we'll be adding these. I'm going to grind the pear, ginger, and I think I've forgotten clove of garlic. Cut down on the garlic. I'm not too keen on too much garlic. So this is going to be, although it's non-nationalist, we can still tone down the garlic a little bit. We've been making too much kimchi with way too much garlic. So we make we'll grind the alliums and ginger and the pear and squeeze that through a cheesecloth into the brine. And I think maybe I'll add, what you could do is add fish sauce as well. But since we're 100% vegetarian on the show, I'll be adding a little bit of tauco, which is Indonesian fermented soybean paste. Add a little bit of umami flavor there. And I think that's about it. I should probably commence to prepping these vegetables.
It looks
So
absolutely beautiful. And just one quick question. Dashi, would that be like akin to like horseradish or a
no,
vegetable like that?
dashi is the Japanese word for stock made of kombu, which is kelp
Oh, yes, of course.
seaweed, and
Okay.
and the either katsubushi, which is dried smoked bonito fish.
Awesome.
That's the base of the Japanese soup stocks, basically. Can't remember the name in Korean. but they have a similar kind of use. But I'm not sure if it came from Japan or not. The dashi, yeah, that occupation, there was a little bit of transfer of foods.
And a
So it's
lot of
been
other
busy.
things.
Huh? All right. Well, I'll get my vegetables going. I'm not sure how you guys want to go. Arjun,
Okie doke.
you want to open, or Anne? How did you?
Arjun, if you want to. No, Arjun is here, and I'm sure he has news for us. Arjun?
Actually, Prof. N, I was gonna let you do your normal segment and just join with you because I know you have like a riff rant at the end.
Oh,
But if you want to start with that, we can. I just think
Uh,
like, yeah, what do you feel about
yeah,
that? Talk
carry
about the
on.
events of the week, you think? Like you and I?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been a busy week. We finally caught up with the Russian tanker. We finally pulled that sucker over. Where today, apparently we've managed to coerce oil out of Venezuela, and Trump had a meeting, supposedly of major oil companies, probably. But the reality, of course, is that his buddy, what's his name, Singer, is probably going to get most of the profit out of this whole Venezuela oil deal. Maduro got nabbed, and he's behind bars. I would have hoped that just because it's Republicans in charge, that they would hold him. Since they're holding him in the Metropolitan Correctional Center, they should put him in the same cell that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in. That would make it kind of perfect closure sort of thing. But anyway, that's just me. Other things we can talk about this week, obviously the murder on Wednesday. It's horrible, and we have like 10 different video versions, and the New York Times has dissected it, and there's open source uh, investigations looking at it, and we finally even got another view of the video. I think it's a portion of. It's not complete, in fact, the one that they have of the killer's cell phone. So that's available now, which is different. And I don't know. It's been a busy week. Oil's there. Trump's trying to buy Greenlanders off with, and he's really being stupid. He set a price range from 10,000 to $1 million. Well, now that he really he doesn't know how to haggle. I mean, now that he's set his price level, Greenlanders, if I were a Greenlander, I'd ask for $1 billion. I mean, why stop there? Um, I wrote something on how Mikado wanted to share her Nobel Prize, but the fact of the matter is you can't share it post facto. You can't return it and have it transferred, so that's impossible. So it had to be done at the front end, and obviously the Nobel Committee knew that they weren't going to do it.
That was to
But
me like
hope springs eternal, and Trump could get the 2026 Nobel Peace Prize. Go ahead.
to me that was the funniest thing. Sorry, just to expand on your statement. The funniest thing this week, if there was anything funny, and there was very little, was subsequent to Maduro's kidnapping, the assault on Venezuela, was there in South Florida and near my hometown in Danville in California. There's a small community outside of Venezuelans, and they were
I think it's my feet. Oh, there we
anti-Chavista.
go.
Yeah, like old school kind of anti-Chavista, akin to the anti-communist community in Miami for Cuba. Yeah. So very like hardcore. And
Mhm.
so immediately subsequent to the kidnapping, when it was announced, we were all kind of like shocked, like because it was a kind of like shock and awe type of raid.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely.
they were celebrating in the streets, like, like the Ewoks after Return of the Jedi, the original. But what they assumed was that Machado would be plugged in,
Mm.
right? And yes, I know 100%, I'm 100% with you. Yes, the non-sharing of the Nobel Award, what she really should have done was just refused it and said, "I'm giving this to Trump." But she could have shared it. You're absolutely right. But she didn't. And they were all shocked the next day because there was out. It was like literally a couple of hours of celebration, major celebration, happiness, good for them. But what they didn't realize was because there were so many, the US sanctions themselves, the things that they had advocated for these, last 20 years, the community in exile, then to their credit, a lot of them came here with nothing and built themselves up to be able to donate
Absolutely.
to politics and, get their worldview across. They didn't consider one thing, which I don't know, it just kind of, it cracked me up. They assumed Machado would be plugged in, right? But because of the
Hmm.
sanctions, the entire base that would have existed around Machado also left. So there's no sort of like support for that kind of worldview there, which is just, I don't know. To me, it was just kind of funny.
Just stupid. It's just amazing. I mean, the government's still there. There's Chavistas militia all over the place, and nothing really has changed other than this whole oil extortion thing going on. I don't know. It's
And
frightening.
even the oil extortion thing, it doesn't seem to, it's going to pan out.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I'm not far from an expert but from what I've read, is that their level of crude is the heavy, dark crude.
Yes.
It requires a ton of refining, and it's very
Hmm.
dirty and it's very hard to get to in order to make it profitable. So like it's like you're talking about a decades long investment to sort of do that. Um, and I don't know, like it's just the whole Venezuela thing. Um, it was coming. I don't think like China's not China's, but the Chinese company's capitulation last year, if you remember the beginning of last year, same time when Trump
Right.
came into office and the first thing they started making major noise about was the Panama Canal. Because there were these two Chinese companies that owned on either side of the canal, owned sort of like basically like docking and storage facilities. And
Right.
we can't let China take over the canal. So those Chinese companies ended up selling. And the rhetoric around Venezuela was, I should say, the more subtle liberal intelligentsia and New York Times kind of rhetoric around Venezuela has always been that Chinese influence cannot be allowed there.
Right.
And I think this is sort of
Right.
like an extension of that, which is why I wasn't really shocked. The only thing I'm shocked about, really, is that they were able to pull this off so cleanly. Because, I mean, can you remember an operation where a US troop
Mm.
didn't die? Like, I can't. Um, but also, the fact that everything
Well,
sort of
no,
just,
they were well prepared.
yeah. And like obviously there was some sort of inside involvement. They knew the layout of his palace. They knew everything. This raid took place so quickly without going into like all this conspiracy shit that's going on in the left.
Oh,
Because
well,
they're
you don't
yeah.
need co well,
Oh,
I
please
mean,
go
you
on.
don't need conspiracy theories in that sense, but it was pretty clear it was message sending. I mean, after all, they went ahead and bombed, the mausoleum for Chavez's mausoleum, which is pretty much message sending, and of course, obviously alienates all the Chavistas. So I don't think that they really thought this through.
Absolutely. Because you don't have there is no opposition in place. Because all the energy existed outside of it. If you recall, during Trump's first State of the Union address, even Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats were standing up to applaud, oh God, what was his name? Juan Guaido, as the recognized president of
Uh,
Venezuela. Like, he wasn't even close. Machado's faction is de facto closer. But I don't know. I wanted to ask
right.
you about how you feel about the reaction, not so much talking about, like, we all saw the videos. They were terrible of what happened with ICE. But the reaction to it, like in terms of like the media, like how are you processing that? Because to me, the message that is being put out there is one that of acceptance of the bleakness and the inevitability of authoritarianism. But I would love to know your opinion.
Well, I think it is pretty bleak in that sense. Although I think that they're sort of capturing. I mean, there was still about balance, for there's a counter demonstration in favor of Trump today that the mainstream media showed, not as big, but it's clear that the reactionaries who live in Minneapolis were out there as well, with all due respect. There's a huge, they're going to cover the vigil, not closely enough, of course. There's a vigil in St. Paul, in front of the Capitol building. There were people, doing a vigil. There's been a vigil every night, and there's coverage of it, but it's not, a heavy duty coverage. I mean, because they're trying to tread lightly over several other competing issues, and that is, of course, that they shot one of a lesbian couple. That there's Jesse Waters on Fox News decided he would refer to her pronouns as being, sort of a negative factor, as framing it. And so it's all pretty ugly, with all due respect. The front end, of course, is that I do think it's bleak because DHS and Trump, just jumped in right ahead at the front end saying, things that just weren't true, things that you could have seen weren't true, even from looking at the initial video. And that is, quote unquote, you know, Jonathan Ross, who's the shooter, was being, quote unquote, run over. It wasn't run over. If anything, if at all, a glancing blow. And as you can see now, I mean, he really did. He was just pissed off, and he decided to put a couple rounds in her. And that's well, they were just on mainstream media, just talking about, with the usual expert discourse about how probably not standard operating procedure to draw your weapon and shoot people. There's no immigration enforcement. I mean, they're beginning to put in the details, and now we're beginning to see, no, there's no riot. I mean, the front end reporting suggested that there was a riot, and they tried to create a riot, which was even scarier in the sense that, community members came out and everyone was getting angry and et cetera, et cetera. But, there wasn't going to be a riot. And who riots in 10-degree weather? I mean, I don't know anyone who riots in cold weather, but that's kind of where we are. It has a front end framing of understanding completely that all officer involved shootings. I think the conviction rate is 2%. I think for all in the United States, all officer involved shootings of that kind. So there's several thousand of these events, and only a couple people get charged. So that's kind of what you have to be pessimistic about. Kind of that's the kind of front end of this, to know, and I think everyone is sort of thinking that is that something's they're going to cover it up, which is what is happening now. The FBI went in, and how much do we trust the FBI with Kash Patel in charge, and etc. It's all there, and we've all managed to forget about the Epstein files. So it's still
Are
all
you
good
still
for
going
the
on
government.
about Epstein, man? Again?
What's strange is, like, Venezuela didn't do it. There was still a murmur, but this horrific crime definitely has.
Yeah,
Um,
well, it's bumped it, which is good actually, because it was much more complicated to work through all of the Venezuelan stuff. Now, let me finally say that the person who's going to make out like a bandit is this guy, Paul Singer, who's a Trump supporter who owns the pre existing refinery system that Venezuela was using. So he owns a bunch of refineries on the Gulf Coast, and he's going to make a lot of money because it's all. I mean, he's set to do the refining. He's just going to get a lot more to refine, and he's going to make out like a bandit. And the side story to me is how is that oil going to get there? Is it going to get there on U.S. hulled tankers, or is it going to be some other kind of intermediate thing in terms of tankers? And so somebody's going to make out like a bandit. Um, it only just recently I've discovered in fact, because of this, that Russia gave up its share in Citgo, the Venezuelan, one of the big Venezuelan companies. And so that's kind of interesting as well, in some ways, because there isn't a conflict between the Russians and the US over Venezuelan oil. I mean, oil is going back and forth, and there's all these, the funny business with um, the tanker that the Coast Guard finally pulled over after 77 days. But those are just minor complications in the one sense. And I think just on the Ukrainian side, I think Putin wanted attention last night, and so he decided, or yesterday evening, and he decided that he would launch a multi-warhead ballistic missile. There's this Orshink thing, which is kind of a leftover device anyway. It's well, I don't even think it had explosives in it. He just wanted to show off, and so there was a complete air alert last night in Ukraine because a massive ballistic missile was being launched and whatever. So it's just lots of saber rattling. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. The
So,
Venezuela
what do you
question.
think? This Venezuela thing is I don't know how far it's going to get bumped off. I mean, the problem with Americans and foreign policy is that we kind of forget about what the hell is going on, and we sort of allow ourselves to be pushed around by all the stupid stuff.
Yeah, so to all the Americans out there, I'm one of you. I grew up in San Francisco, so I'm allowed to say this. Americans are provincial as fuck, okay? You guys, the general population,
Yeah,
does not care about international policy, right? Which is why this horrific shooting is kind of a
yep,
win.
yep,
Like they fell ass backward through their cruelty into it because it literally has no one's thinking about the Epstein. Like, how could you? Like honestly, like what just happened? But
yeah,
to expand on what you were
yeah,
saying, just we can touch back on Venezuela, but like in terms of this horrific murder that ICE did in Minnesota, I've been noticing a lot of doomer like rhetoric from the talking heads on all social media, not social media, but like mainstream media across the West. CNN, CBC, BBC, they're all talking like
yeah,
authoritarianism is a fait accompli. They're also talking like this kind of shocking beginning to a year is unprecedented, which is bullshit.
yeah,
And
yeah,
which is why I wanted to come on tonight and tell you guys that like January 68 was sort of the same, a similar kind of moment.
yep. It
Because,
was
yeah,
absolutely.
if you look at the lib reaction, the centrist, I should say, reaction to this horrific murder domestically, it's very much akin to their reaction to the Tet Offensive in Vietnam in January
Yes,
1968, because the boomer,
yes,
generation and their parents, those people who had fought in World War II, generally believed that their government's motives were pure. You know, like in
yes,
essence, um, they believed what they were told. There was no cynicism. There was no, not even being skeptical, really. You read the New York Times, Washington Post. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Right. Tonkin Gulf, the whole set of reasons for doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Precisely. And the it's hard to imagine now, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of a CNN watching sort of lip. My sister is one of them. My sister is magnificent. She's going to be on the Supreme Court of Canada, but she's still a lib, right? Um, it's shocking. It like this event has pulled the veil off the cruelty of the right in a way that I think hasn't resonated before. Like nothing mattered, like the deportations once he came into power, because they're always put in because the most publicized cases were obviously Palestinian activists or people who at least spoke out on that call on
Yes.
behalf of that cause.
Mhm.
However, there's a lot of other deportations. Also, people trying to come into America who had work visas or temporary status to come in for short-term contract work. I know a ton of
Right.
Canadians like that. I know a ton of people in the UK. Some of them got detained. Like it's sort of
Mm.
like it's sort of um an inward contraction. And,
Mm.
you know, the left always, and I've always pushed back against this on Rev Left Radio, David Feldman show, any
Mm.
left show I've ever been on, the idea of American empire, okay?
Mm.
Because that casts America as it is now, the US as it is today, the world as it is today, in the light of the Roman Empire. When in fact,
Ah,
what's happening now, they're not one to one, but there are like direct parallels to the actual fall of the Republic. Okay, Rome
oh,
fell internally before it fell externally, and
Mm.
that was the fall
yes.
of the Republic. It was a situation where there was utter corruption, you know, otherizing of foreign populations, all this kind of stuff that's happening in America today. So what happened in 1968 after people realized that even their liberal president, Lyndon B. Johnson, successor to JFK, who really ramped up the Vietnam War, and it was a full-blown war, uh, it made them realize that they had been reading and hearing nothing but lies.
Mm.
Because at that point, believe it or not, at that point, very much akin to you know George W. Bush's famous landing on the aircraft carrier with the mission accomplished. If you remember like the general public vibe there, everyone thought like Iraq was
Mhm.
over, you know?
Yes.
Walk.
Yeah, and in the spirit of internationalism coming home, I think liberals are starting to wake up in lieu of this murder in a way that this administration is not prepared to handle, nor is the Democratic Party, nor is American society, really. It's one of those moments where I
Yeah.
think things are going to flip, and unfortunately, there will be a lot more violence. But, I mean, in
You
terms
sure
of
this
human
ain't just
history,
about it being a white lady?
Yes, probably. I think it will be. It's. But that happened in '68 as well.
Be
yes.
anybody's soccer mom.
Yeah, well, I mean, in 68, they
Yes,
started,
absolutely. It was like killing a soccer mom. Ultimately, and it's unfortunate that some of us, breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't a Somalian who was gunned down. But, this just shifts the entire narrative. The entire narrative is all screwed up now for the right wing. But liberals, I agree with you. I think liberals are not prepared to quite deal with this. Um, I mean, they fully need to embrace this. And I'm not sure whether, as you're speaking historically, 68 was an important truly important. And if we're going to get another May 68, like in France, I don't know if that's ahead, but it's clear that we're looking ahead for more violence. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think we're heading to more to like a Eastern European style summer 1968. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do a
Mm.
deep into history episode on 1968 and explain all this shit because I don't don't have time. I'm taking too much of the prof's time.
All right.
But
There we go.
yeah, we're looking at a general awakening of the voting population, the centrist voting
Mm.
population, that proverbial or mythical percent that can, watches
The
politics like it's sports and will flip side to side. You know what I mean?
the extreme center.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I think the extreme center, the media is going to keep definitely now with all this consolidation going, pushing the same line that, we just need to vote blue no matter who. If you're in any other Western NATO aligned country, it'll be you have to vote for the center, like the Liberal Party. We all have like literally they're called
Mm.
Liberal parties, right, Joe? Yours is called Liberal Party too,
Oh,
right?
yep.
Yeah. So that's the centrist. That's like the Obama wing of our
Yep.
of our yeah, for us is Trudeau to now Carney.
And
Like
it's
our
center party. Yeah, actually.
yeah, like yeah, but center in the terms of we're
Total.
center, but we can
Yeah.
only make accommodations with the right. We can never move left. Therefore, we move the right so far right that they become like the Republicans in America are now, which is in essence what Clintonism did to America
Mm.
and the extension of it. Um,
Yes.
but I do think there is a sea change. And I think if you want to take any positivity from this week, for like anyone out there who needs to hear this, because I certainly didn't, and I felt like compelled to come talk to you guys about this, is that humanity has been in much more dire straits. And as much as our institutions have been completely eroded and our leaders have failed us for all of our lives, they're still there. You know, solidarity can exist nationally, but the most important thing is solidarity locally. So I assure you, like even like the worst, like your shithead neighbors, people you really don't like want to talk to, they're feeling the exact same way you do, but they just don't know how to articulate. So
That's
I have
true.
yeah, I have a lot of hope when I see people. Well, let's put it this way. In order to validate this strike on Venezuela, who did mainstream media bring out? I saw David from star of the
Oh,
Iraq
yes.
War, a guy
Yes.
who should never be on television ever. All the old heads who were cheering for the Iraq War came back on. John Bolton, even. Jesus Christ.
Ooh, I
Uh,
didn't see him.
he's all over YouTube. If you want to know if a political show is full of shit on YouTube, if they had John Bolton on in the last 5 days, just delete their channel and block it. Um,
Oh, God.
so they're dragging out all those people for Venezuela, and what was funny was that they're normal talking heads that would come on and talk about something domestically horrific like this murder. They just used those same people again. The libs, it's indefensible. There's no two sides. They're used to playing this two sides, turning politics into sports and spectacle game, and it's not there. If even
Yes.
these billion-dollar media companies can't put that kind of propaganda out when they need it most, which is right now, then something has sincerely changed. Like people's eyes are open even though they can't articulate it. And I don't know. I always go back to be kind to those around you. Talk to those around you. Don't make it about politics. but talk about the story. Ask how they feel. And even if what they say and
Yes.
their views are offensive to you, of course they're going to be. They don't know anything. Like people aren't if if you're on the stream, you guys pay more attention to the news than 99% of the population. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
The the average YouTube viewer of political context shows all of them is maybe 10%, maybe at times, if it fluctuates during an election, maybe 20% of the population. 80% of the population is not tuned in. They read headlines or hear what someone told them, mostly on a podcast or something like that. They have no idea how
Yes.
to interpret it. There's no class analysis, there's nothing behind that. So, as much as it
Right.
pains me to listen to my conservative neighbor who lives across the street who goes to Florida every single year, bitch and moan because his wife isn't an American citizen and they couldn't escape the winter this year because they were terrified about crossing the border because she's from Colombia to
Uh,
their summer vacation house.
uh,
I listened, and then I started slowly, gently expanding his worldview. Do the same. It sucks, but we need people. We have people, they just don't know they're ours. So, there's some hope to be taken from this
yes.
dreadful start to 2026. I hope that made sense.
Yes, I agree. I think that's a good way to look at it because I think that's the only way change is going to occur. And I think they've overplayed it, in terms of the corporate, concentration or centralization of merger acquisitions of major media. So I think they're going to have a real problem actually trying to set the same agendas they used to set. I think you're going to see a greater amount of contradictions in terms of what they're trying to push out and what actually is happening. I think we're beginning to see that with, for example, CBS. They've tried to make it really switch to the right, and it's just not going to get there. I don't think it's ever going to get there. But it's ambitious from a sort of vanguard right wing point of view. But I don't think it's just that CBS just simply doesn't have the same kind of presence, whether it's online or in social media or whatever. And so, they're self-marginalizing in that sense. I think that's kind of where the US is going to go. But unfortunately, more history happens, I mean, essentially, whoever shot those two people in Portland was pretty much riding the same wave. I think that they had hoped that they would create even more agitation, which I don't think is going to happen. It's wintertime. It's just not going to happen in the same way that they would expect.
Yeah,
Like we don't even know who got shot. And if you got shot, why would you dial 911 rather than, whatever? Uh, they wound up in a real hassle because I think the feds in Portland reported one thing and they knew it wasn't gonna fly once reality started setting in, so they had to actually pull their sort of front end media frame on what they were doing with shooting people who were illegal immigrants. And I think my understanding is that the couple who got shot aren't that. um, and the fact that they fled was even more interesting, that they shoot them and then leave. What the hell is that?
yeah, these are thugs, like quite literally. If
Yeah.
there's been reporting coming out over the last couple of days about like how they'd lowered their standards, but even if you look
Oh.
at their standards before, they were like low. And if you wonder why you haven't heard about the Proud Boys, is because they all became ICE agents. They finally were able to be gainfully employed.
Indeed,
Uh,
indeed.
yeah, these are thugs and shitheads who are going there, or in some cases, people who genuinely have no, or just believe. They don't have any like they haven't read. So they basically believe whatever they're told, akin to the World War II generation discovering that the Vietnam War was bullshit, right?
Mm.
They just believed it. I think you're gonna see some, not a lot, but a couple in the coming weeks of like ICE agents, you know, blacked out probably showing up on like Democracy Now or whatever and like, telling things because they finally realized like, holy shit, we have joined in effect a secret police, right?
Yes,
Because only
Our Gestapo,
absolutely.
not the Gestapo, our Gestapo.
yeah, but like it's an ins this is gonna sound bad, but it's an insult to call them the Gestapo. The Gestapo were competent. Uh, I mean,
Indeed, they were,
Assad's
unfortunately.
in comparison, Bashar al-Assad's secret police right before he got overthrown was more competent than ICE. All right. These these people have no training. They're
Mm.
they're there for a political mission, like a political goal that they don't fully understand the implications of or whatever, but they do understand that um hating a group for their however misplaced that hate is, and it is, um, they can funnel that into a political project that they don't really understand the scope of. That
Yes,
doesn't,
true.
that didn't exist. Uh, I mean, with the Gestapo, they freaking weeded out anyone who wasn't like a ideological purist, you know? Um,
Mm.
and the fact that this is also like it's hard to say like because like my mother's family is politically powerful in India and has been since part like forever. Um, um, and I know how corrupt those assholes are. Um, and it's open, but it's not to say that every other US administration has not been corrupt. There is corruption in every single administration. But the blatant openness of Trump's administration, absent educating their own sort of foot soldiers, creates a void where like the said foot soldier, said, you know, gullible person who believes they're defending their country by deporting, you know, dreamers. Um, it creates a void that none of the current political um rhetoric can fill. There's no reconciliation between the fact that we're going to save your jobs, your communities, your families by kicking out these people. And that's what you joined to do.
Yes. Well,
While,
that's where the contradictions are going to occur. I mean, the fact is, all these people are not going into the world because they're frightened. They've frightened a whole bunch of people off. I mean, it is why we have these job gaps, the employment gaps. Uh, but the advantages, I think, and to agree with you, is that people are going to be aware of some very anachronistic kind of terms. To talk openly about materialism or imperialism, which is what mainstream media is starting to do, that's interesting to me, that they're
yeah,
actually using the word imperialism and they're talking about colonialism. I think that that's a good thing.
100%. So, like as I said, my sister's like a very centrist lib lawyer, but I'm also friends with all of her friends. So I know a ton of lawyers who are all sort of in the same vein. Very social justice oriented. They do a lot of pro bono work. They do a lot of good. But at the end of the day, it's sort of like the centrist line, you know? They
Yep.
as a stand-in for like sort of like the professional PMC or upper middle or even middle class professionals that read the New York Times opinion pieces, the people who
Yeah.
read who are
PMC.
the
Yeah.
people that are supposed to be like the arbiters of our opinion, the Ezra Kleins and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to
That's
believe me, but 7 of them this week And in 3 cases, I kind of gently guided them to this conclusion, but 7 of them told me that Ezra Klein is full of shit. I don't know why I ever listened to this asshole before.
Wow, that's
Okay.
oh,
Which is
that's
what
some
I've been
progress.
telling them forever. But they finally get, like, sometimes something so blatant needs to happen, akin to the Tet Offensive, because, it had been roiling for years. A lot of the population already knew the Vietnam War was bullshit. What was actually happening was imperialism. And the Tet Offensive allowed those libs to start talking in it that way. Now,
Yes.
if the most hardcore libs I know, and they are hardcore libs, like I swear to God, if they could have, they would have. I mean, if decency allowed, they would have had true like Justin Trudeau tattoos on their arms. Um, like if people like that are saying that their favorite online creators and opinion makers, I mean, we're talking about the hugest, biggest in the world, really, like Ezra Klein. All right. To them, it's like a demigod in terms of opinion, political opinion. If they're telling me, like, that guy can go fuck himself, and these people don't use expletives, uh, Um, it's there's a change going on at the center that I think has always been missing. It was missing during Bernie 2016. It was hugely missing. It was funneled into the Warren campaign during the primaries of
Yes.
2020, which is what broke it, I think. The Bernie coalition really had they should have just they should have done they should have done like Warren should have been like they should have just run together or something. That was the only way to fix it post we don't need to relitigate the primaries, but post, South Carolina where Biden won. Um the libs this time are coming around, and I don't think they're buying the normal blather that even they bought a couple of days before in paving over the raid on Venezuela and Maduro, which I think is something to be hopeful about. And we all need to encourage it. Joe, can I think Anne dropped out for a second? Okay.
Oh,
I'm back.
Okay,
I'm back.
perfect.
Hello.
Perfect. So yeah, I just wanted to end on a message of hope from my part, and I want to hear your Ukraine war update. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. You two, love you
Thank you,
guys.
Arjun.
And I'm gonna, I'm gonna be here. But also, Prof, and you're so well read on Ukraine. I got an offer to do something for this Ukrainian news network, and it makes me very suspicious. So, I'm gonna message you about that, okay? Because one of the
Yes, we
guys,
should.
one of the
Yes.
founders' last name is Lewandowski, and I'm thinking like, is this Corey
oh,
Lewandowski?
Corey.
Yeah, yeah,
Corey
because
Lewandowski?
yeah, this no, not
I,
him, but his last name's Lewandowski. And I was like
no,
wondering, does he
but
have a son?
somebody.
And all it is like these super hot Ukrainian women interviewing guys and making them put
Going
like
fishing.
this very ultra
Mm,
nationalist contest. And I'm not like I don't
mm,
I have no I'm pro Ukraine. I don't want Russia
mhm.
to invade, but I'm also not anti-Russian.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm against war.
right.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
so let me know if they're like if they're I'll message you offline. If they're not nefariously funded, then come on, ka-ching.
There are a lot of them. Believe me, it's pretty funky what's out there. So
Oh,
yes,
yo,
we'll talk.
when you see this, you're gonna see it. You're gonna be like, "Oh my God, Arjun, that's obscene." But if the
No,
money is okay, like where
oh,
the money
right,
comes
yeah,
from, let me
absolutely.
know. I'm doing it,
But
especially with a
there
redhead.
is a
Yeah.
genre. I would there is a genre I think out there of putting spokesmodel like women to do podcasts, and I have no idea where that's coming from, but seems to be a genre of it, which is a little scary.
Yeah, and
so
this
I
one
keep
is sort
thinking
of
that's,
like,
well, maybe it's the kind of post-Soviet thing.
yeah, it's like blatantly propagandistic, but so well veiled.
Mm.
I want your opinion. I'm gonna send you the link. I'm gonna say no more. I'm gonna get in trouble
All
otherwise.
right.
Okay. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
Yes,
come
do
back
that.
for
Yeah.
discussion
Love
later,
you.
but I'm watching. Love you guys. Happy New
Take it
Year.
Thank
easy.
you,
Do
Arjun.
not
Thanks for coming
despair.
by.
Do not despair. Okay? We survived
We'll
1968.
be okay.
We will survive 2026. Solidarity forever.
Indeed.
Quite. Love you guys.
Peace. Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm nearly finished. Just have to fill out some of these cabbages. This is a good example of the technique. You basically, after you salted the matchstick vegetables and dates, pears, you kind of shove them in between the leaves, and then we're gonna pickle these with the liquid. And next week we'll come back and I'll serve it with some other dish, which I'm not exactly sure what I'll be serving it with. But we'll get them all set here. Got a couple more of the stuff. But yeah. I just had one correction, Arjun, on I believe you said their oil in reference to Venezuela. I believe Trump said it was our oil.
Yeah, everything since 1976 is our oil, right? Our oil's been taken since 1976.
Are these claims about the
Such,
nationalization?
well,
They're
horse
claiming that
pucky,
it
as
was.
they say.
They're
In
claiming
terms
that
of
the.
Ukraine, missiles, same stuff. I'm grateful that the EU is kind of putting up enough money and stuff, but it's all been complicated, made very complicated by Trump.
I think my mic dropped out or
Our
something.
hemisphere, yes.
Oh, oh. Oh, did
I
you
think,
cover everything, or
well,
is
yeah,
my
I've covered
headset?
everything.
Oh, okay.
No, I've pretty much covered everything. People just, come by to Daily Coast. It comes up around midnight every day. And yes, it is every day. We're at 1,421 days of coverage of the Ukraine-Russian war. And I really had hoped that it would never come to that many days, but that's what's happening. And so I'm continuing to do it. There are a couple other people at Coast who carry this and who do literally a daily, summary of what's been happening. Far too much is happening. It's still horrible. It is probably the biggest scale war that is going on the planet. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate, Americans certainly don't appreciate how many people are, actually getting killed every day. And so it's kind of awful in that sense. But we're up
Well,
to scheduling time.
I've
Whatever.
started learning Russian. So we
Well,
have a
it's
bit
one
of a
thing.
border.
Indeed, indeed, a very important border. At least up at the Arctic Circle, I guess. Uh, we're on to scheduling now, I guess. I think we're going to have a night gallery at in about half an hour, and I don't know, John, do you want to talk a little bit about that? I think we're getting The Wire tonight afterwards, and that should be very exciting as well. John?
Yes, I'm excited. Yes, on Night Gallery, we have an episode called I'll Never Leave You Ever. And it is, it stars Lois Nettleton, who was in a very good episode of The Twilight Zone. Royal Gano, and John Saxon. All these people have very,
Wow.
impressive careers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very committed person.
Yeah.
That doesn't. I'm not misreading. There wouldn't be any kind of veiled threat that I should assume here. This is all very cheery and
Very cheery. Yes, if you're hoping for an unusually upbeat and life-affirming episode of Night Gallery, you're going to be disappointed. It definitely falls into the grim range of the Night Gallery.
Well, there you go. I think we're going to get The Wire after that, and I don't know if Travis is here and he wants to talk about it. I hope that we'll start with episode 1 and go through the whole thing. I can't remember how many seasons of The Wire there are, but it would be interesting. I think it's very timely or useful, a useful narrative in that sense. So looking forward to that after Night Gallery. On Saturday, we have another film, and I can't remember what the day.
Blue Moon.
There's 5 seasons.
Blue Moon.
All right. Blue Moon. Yes. Blue
Moon with Ethan Hawke,
which is a story
Richard
about
Linklater.
what is it? Hart of Rodgers and Hart, or did I get that wrong?
I think ends. Mike is
it's
delayed.
It's a Linklater film, which is good, and so
Yeah, she's cutting out a bit.
I'm excited. We're looking towards that. I think it'll be 7 p.m. on Saturday. On Sunday, we have Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation. John, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yes. So we have an episode called A Matter of Perspective. And Commander Riker is accused of killing the husband of a woman. Well, the husband is a prominent scientist, and she claims that he had an affair. Riker had an affair with her, and murdered her husband. So
Homewrecker. I told you he's no good. Told you he's no good.
So Joe's going to be very excited by this episode as our number one Riker hater.
Oh, God.
We'll probably find the music.
Oh, man. Indeed. I don't know if Lane is here, if he can, if Lane can talk about the music that's going to happen after that.
Yes, we're going to be showing a movie by a great band called the Ruttles. It's called All You Need Is Cash
Lane?
from 1978.
Yes.
I think everybody else can hear me,
Sure.
Andy. I think
we can hear
phone's
you.
on the blink. I want to play the Ruttles film, as I promised last week. We did the Bonzo Dog Doodah band last week, and
the Ruttles.
yeah, Neil Inez from that band and Eric Idle from Monty Python, who sort of gave that band the break,
Oh,
did a
God.
mock version of the Beatles called the Ruttles, and we'll be watching the movie and scraping some footage of them playing live together and stuff.
Could you repeat that again, Lane? I think you were mumbling. All I heard was the Ruttles.
Yeah, you got. I think
Yes.
the problem is on your end, because we can hear Lane fine on our end.
Yes. And I think Anne is on a 2-minute delay.
Yeah, she seems to be delayed.
Well, so then
Nine
I guess we
Mountain
can count this week out for getting better.
Yeah. I'll blame Arjun. He came and cocked it up. It's usually smooth. Usually very smooth.
All right. Well, we will do better next week.
Never smooth. Never bloody smooth.
Up the feed, and
And she hear us.
So what I was saying was,
we're
this
still
is a
live.
very, this
Oh.
is a,
Dropped
the
out.
most,
Dropped
this
out.
is the,
Sorry.
All right.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Travis. Sorry about that.
So Blue Moon is a very Texas version of versions of New York City in the 1940s. By that I mean Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke are both Texas natives. Both were born and raised in Texas.
Well, I'm glad it's got
Now,
nothing to do with the song Blue Moon of Kentucky by Elvis, because that annoys me, that song.
No.
Good.
now I
And
understand. Now I understand why this movie is being shown.
we're still live. And kill the
It's like
feed.
he's got the hiccups when he sings it. A blue moon
Yes,
of
we are still live.
Oh,
Sorry.
We are still live.
We're still live.
yes.
Our
Kill the
Still
feed.
live?
listener is still listening.
Oh no, I've mentioned Elvis.
We're gonna get
Have we-
fined by the FCC.
Well, we got to sign off. Did
We
we
already
already
did.
sign off?
We already did.
Oh.
Everything's done.
And